To make it sure, sir, who you were fitting and cobebia. To do question and numbers and mama for major. To prepare a video, if the first time you've tuned in, I just want to remind you this is What's Up Radio, your number one radio station in London. Jumedia was to go, I would say a friend of awareness. Yeah, me did you media chiame, and I said, oh, him, a friend, and him. This week, and somehow cost so a coachy cobra, my Ghana, everybody not to Fana Medina Abreu. And somebody, a be a coso papa this week, ain't to make sure, say, with you know, when you uncover beer because I'm send them as usual. Over to me at Johnny and Facebook Live. And I say on YouTube, or type it in What's Up TV. Open your link and not send your messages, your contribution. Then you know back in kind, and then you know and the studio number 98 Jumani 0208 144 8773 0208 144 8773. And now, Oma bet your Mokabia for bet your Monka a year or buy a Oba Bruni, Oba Coco a Nikunum Quati on electricity for money because of one radam and now I say gowns. And now buy our falaja as usual. Some saw by a Befia Lipo no, I put a ton of watching and you more a spy, you need more thing. And now buy our veteran can. As usual, I had the cooling down hat, a yes, some yaman so and ne ubetenenka. Mr. Nuno baby, I will be a Michiaupa, number one accountant there, Mr. Mena Ashley, also Michiaupa, Michaku phone names, and send you message be into making sure so be responding to it. Yes, the car come yet, General Kuanum now grows with a bed, if you are not is waiting without much I do. Let's just see, and I did you median in a bobo so. And some of us and I'd like to take this opportunity to give a big shout out. Yes, St. Louis for all students, or by I and this argument, you may see me now. So say, or Chiamonina, or Chiamosumis, this is a big shout out to you guys. It's St. Louis in Nina, St. Louis for Momono, you can't obey. What did they say? St. Louis for Modiana.
Hey, Murphy, so we shall be one or something. Is that what you mean?
So we shall be one. Say a Monica's one, most of very moonchi. So you shall be one. St. Louis for a yes, Louis for ma, a Yokumasa for a Miss Ghana Kumasi, Ubaya Suchiamina. And yet, at the count for 2000, and yet the count for more you can hang out so your chairman. And yet, matters if Uganda for so soon and I, Chiamina. Now, make us this week, we because they see what dear account, sorry, it's not to a bunker cranum do a call. My Ghana more and some internet in the show and all the media houses make it kind in our boom. Do you know so also to me and say so such you may do this one catch us and Yemen media who pay to me so topic be honor say come once a month. You can just tune in and now so the why you not back you know because of my Ghana in idea who is that. This week, I'll say what's it 2021. AYX explain changes in the grade. As a first one, grade 1, A1 is excellent. For auntie or someone say, come away, what's the dear? And I just say, this year maybe it's not a bobreno. Nay, I said, I could for not anyone. Some okay, yeah, it will be all top past questions. Emma, Emma. Modi Alpha. And what she know or free SHS. Free SHS. And remember results by remember we have some wrap around the Mukano Panama. We have also company man's no maba. Or Mukopana, it was no maba. And remember results by and let's compare and contrast. Everybody compare the free SHS what the result as a record of Mahama. Hey, free SHS it doesn't mean that rubbish. I could afford a breed more affiliate or say, and yet what's the result? A bit power compare Mahama Diana. Not a year, because yeah, Jessica, you can't compare to the crowning results. Or make you cry. Despite all the challenges, or say the United States free SHS, a day free. See what performance vindicate free SHS President Akufo-Addo no started also this week. I on one someone name CIS Omicron, a business Omicron, a business Omicron. Brofon is a watch, medium is a Omicron. And yes, no, that was a very near me. Who part to America, especially the West. Now, this is Ghana, so this one is a is one of the countries, Modema, MZW, Crabboy, Apostle, Ghana President Abaso, now this week, yes, it's paying was the 364,832 vaccines administered in the Eastern region. Because a dang and a vaccine numbers, I know baby Kagumasum or see radio 666 because M says Avason is the one would be a baby on Mount Minko. Eastern region, also resident demonstrate over lack of development projects in Sunyane. Autumn 4 launches commemorative gold coin today. And I can say, no, yeah, Babonting, and his own himself will be a God no when we drew out 240 was way there a historic and make it sure say. So when you be a when you been a baby a benyan and one some United Web. Someone named Dr. Dampare, IGP. Boss, I salute you. I salute you. He's the #1 IGP in Ghana history. I want make history upon history. Now this week, and some of the about say we will come for you, and nobody will appreciate the manner. IGP now want a crop of youth. The Diana boys, and I say, one and two, that also 1 and 3 as I want to jump by the because tour prices can easily be reduced to 6 cities. It depends on the government. Yes, and it is answering me about it. Dear no man. One teacher, one laptop project. I see 80% of laptops for SHS teachers delivered AADS for it is answering me about government in meeting with the commercial transport operators over the sit-down strike. When in February and I cost so on my Ghana move into without much I do as usual. I remember I beg you for a church as to ready ladies first. Obaya said nearly no acquisition to remember Obaya actually Obaya. Good evening. About my microphone, your mommy. My Ben Park, which now. And now, how has your week been?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Alicia,
oh, I said, what should I do?
Yeah, my brother and send those one. Probably the brother boy.
I so how do you say, it's here the UK had now a cophobia, I can't say, we say. Omicron. Now, Yeah, that can once I'm Ghana also lie. Now, what's the Omicron? What's it again? How
my bro cry. My bro, I just feel like this Christmas, my mom is me. I'm just thinking, so I hope so nothing get cancelled for any event I have to go to. I just really, I was hoping that it's over. Now to go back to this life again, I'm just thinking, oh no. It may bump I say yeah, can say Christmas. From the way I met things, and I think there's another announcement coming, which might end up say we might have to be stuck alone in our houses. So yeah, I don't know say if that will be whatever it is. But let's say pastor say we have to master. And I'm like
now maybe more sorry I'm not on it from the one mouse in the free.
oh please.
Yeah. From the one
yeah. To be honest with you, my bro with it now. So really, I don't know. We didn't debate over. But it's been of course 2 years now. You know. And I haven't been able to socialize with you guys properly because we all kind of at times, you know, you can't, you know, when there's restrictions, you can't really meet up and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe I said like this Christmas, we all have a good Christmas and it doesn't get cancelled again. It's just enough is enough.
Yo, sorry.
Hello.
Akwaba. We say Akwaba. Yeah, it's really. Yeah, now, wiki this year is Omicron. About Ibisa Obaya. Obaya na sebi most of the be I'm sorry. One number one teacher for it doesn't matter. Last year's we special workers. More probably special workers essential workers. And this year I don't do when next perform because we didn't say how kind of but I say on the allegedly or say the way I say on this year for 2 years or didn't need that. And this year she's really looking forward to Christmas. Now also Omicron what is it in Nigeria for a dermatologist red list or UK have in the what's your Omicron no what was your initial reaction in terms of this vaccine?
Oh well, I mean, I guess it's the same as everyone. You get concerned about it, isn't it? As to the severity of it in terms of the infection and the hospitalization. But it looks as if the issue regarding people falling really ill, it hasn't been, you know, as it was perhaps expected. Yeah. So that in itself, no, it's good. But I guess it's a spread of it. Because I mean, obviously, the more it keeps spreading, the implication is that these restrictions will come in, as it has started coming in. But we don't want Christmas to be at all. So we just hopeful. So yeah, that's the worst that we will see. But it looks very clear is that government is trying its best, not to impose any restrictions. They are just guiding restriction as to what the things that we're meant to be doing now. Pretty shortly, I think somewhere if we get up to January, we could see more restrictions coming through.
You think December we might get to?
I think most likely.
I think it needs to be spared to this Christmas.
Yeah, I think most likely, if anything, any strict rules comes in, might probably be January. I mean, I can't see it.
Actually, interestingly, you know, this coronavirus, like in 2020, and we were all looking forward to 2020 to be over and 2021 and we come to the end of 2021, and it's still really nothing has really. It's so confused.
Because these variants
keep on changing. Yeah.
So it looks like we're probably gonna live with this for so that keep coming. I mean, where we will have to be, boosting ourselves all the time. I've had my free job, so I'm very confident.
Yeah, now in the UK, one of the directives that the UK government and their ban is everybody over 40 will need to get your booster and run out enrolling it out to by January. And they want the whole population to at least to have done it. Very young, for instance, 15 for so much as I think they want you to roll it down to 9 years for near their dinner. And with the private though, have you?
Oh, my booster! I haven't had my booster yet. I think I tried to log into the NHS the other day, and then it said to me that I need to call 911
Jack,
119.
what's up,
So I don't know whether it's to do with the date. I mean, yeah, the other one or whatever. But I'm assuming.
But you will be invited anyway. When
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you and I had a Nana and I had a conversation. I said, so I haven't done it yet, so I just thought, let me book it. But then when I went in, it didn't seem to be something that when I put the information in, my date of birth and everything in there, nothing kind of came out. It kind of said to me. So I'm assuming that probably. I mean, yeah.
I don't know if your time is up. You normally will get.
Yeah. So
So you already.
exactly. So I haven't done it yet. So
you
yeah.
will get that.
Not necessarily because mine was.
But you were
because-
essential
So
worker.
you decided to go for it. Is it?
No, what I'm saying is mine was because now the renewal was 6 months. I'm watching about 3 months, but I didn't receive any test. That's what I'm saying.
So you went for it.
Yes, so
Yeah,
I
so
booked
you,
it.
you could decide to do that, but if your time is due now, you will get because they're going through the shortening of
list.
the gap, and it follows exactly the same protocol.
All right. I'm thinking probably that's why. Because I mean, kind of last time I
But
had.
they invite people to go.
Yeah, they do. They do
exactly.
invite.
So,
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that you will still get to get
Yeah.
that invitation to
Yeah, but so far I haven't had anything yet, so I probably will wait anyway. But I'm thinking, I can't remember the last time I had my.
Did you not get a slip?
I have got it. I have got it. Actually, good point. I'll check it's in my wallet, so I'll check what date I had the last one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't had my booster yet. I've heard that a lot of people kind of were ill. You get
The booster?
Yeah. Well, they said
Yeah,
headaches.
I had the and I hope you don't mind me sharing this because during my
We don't mind.
It's my
So,
private, yeah. I had the AstraZeneca for my first and second injection, really.
Yeah.
And I think in the UK they only do the Pfizer for the booster for everybody.
Mhm.
And I didn't get
That is if you have different. I thought they were missing it.
no, they're not.
They're not
They're
missing
giving Pfizer for all the boosters. That's what they're rolling
So
for
if you have to
boosters.
send the Pfizer, you still get Pfizer. Is that what you're saying?
So if you have, let's say, first
But
jab,
some people
second
do have
jab,
Pfizer.
they still have Pfizer because Pfizer is just for the booster.
No, I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm just thinking.
Because
that-
when I went
because
there-
the understanding I had is that
They
they
mix it.
mix, because you get.
When I got to the place, I asked, have I got the way to choose? And I was told, say, for the booster, no, they are only, if you are coming for your booster, the only vaccine they give you, unless obviously I was giving the
Like,
wrong information.
I'm not
It's
100%. I'm just
it's
thinking what I heard them say was in my head.
Oh, what then? Why your booster?
AZ as well.
AZ. That's what people call it. AZ.
Yeah, AZ.
Okay, it's quite easy to say, isn't it? Yeah,
So,
sure.
but
It's a bit.
I will go for my booster, but I just had my
Flu jab.
so I wanted to let it.
Yeah, it's kind of
settle more
setting the
and
body
then,
free. Top it up.
Yeah.
But I know people have gone for the booster and the flu jab the same. And I think they were very brave because
Yeah.
one in
It's
each
just a
arm.
pain on the arm.
One in each arm.
You can. Well, they took the flu jab and they took the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
you can
somebody
have
who
it.
took
You can-
two.
I mean, there's
The
no
same,
restriction
yeah.
on when you can have both.
It's just that you're going to
I
be.
just decided that look, it's just too much to have on the same.
And did you have any pain after your flu jab?
No, funny enough, the whole funny thing about the way people reacted to it, I had nothing at all. No headaches. Obviously, you still feel a bit of discomfort where they had the injection, but that's as worse as it did. And it didn't have any headaches.
Yeah.
It was smooth sailing for me, in this grand scheme of things.
Right, that's
But
interesting.
usually around December, and this is not me chasing anything for now. I would have been, having this flu all over. You know how my baby, but so since I haven't, and it's very rare for me to be in December without really suffering any flu. So I think for me, the flu just seems to be working. Yeah,
But you've had yours too, I mean.
Yeah, I had my flu jab. And I think I took mine, 2 or 3 weeks. Then after that, I had my booster. Yeah.
Quite well prepared then for the world.
Yeah, because I'm essential worker, so obviously it's kind of
I saw
essential
myself out,
as well. It's helpful. I would like to, especially if you are listening to us from the UK or in the West, because this is where we have a lot of flus and now they're talking about boosters. I'd like to know your thoughts. Over to me, Aframe, and not joining the conversation on 0208 144 8773. And as on our Facebook Facebook page, you can leave your comments and be kind in idea. Now we are on vaccine. And one this week, idea about and it's I'll say 364,832 vaccines administered in the Eastern region. The Eastern region has as of December 6th administered the amount of doses to the coronavirus vaccine. Out of the figure, a total of 314,346 have received at least one dose of the vaccine, whilst 50,486 persons continue 2.4% of the target populated of the 2,104,786 people. And these figures, so the regional health director, Dr. Wilfred Ofosu, made this known as a press briefing in Koforidua in the regional capital last Tuesday to give an update of the development of the COVID-19 pandemic in the region. According to Dr. Ofosu, within the same period, the region recorded 6,605 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 6,466 constitute 97% have recovered and discharged from the healthcare facility in the region. He also told the gathering that unfortunately 136 persons who contracted the diseases has died. The regional health director told the gathering that fortunately the region has consistently recorded less than 10 cases per week for at least 5 or 6 weeks, whilst active cases within the same region stood at the 3 mild cases. It's to say a cut stories here. My first story, France, that's it. Yeah, can't see here about region, central region. I mean, you said, what aspect would share in figures na eba happen. And do you think from the studies maybe more say kind of one patronize vaccine no because it was my kind says sometimes some of our family members people were scared. There were a lot of what do you call it kasai what is it there's something in the corona here come from rumors around the impact of the vaccine, but this is very kind of interesting, say, in central region alone.
Or is it conspiracy?
Conspiracy theories I wanted there. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Conspiracy theories and before we break line to see these figures flagging up only in Eastern region, is something I would say, how does it make you feel, especially with the, do you think that Omicron, and ancestor now the region, say is something they really have to get on with it?
The short answer is I don't know, but I would think so. Of course, now it's been some time now. It's almost 2 years now, as you said. And I guess
what's up, ready?
We are now. Nothing vanishes down there. I guess those sentiments that people were worrying about, all those conspiracies, as you did mention, it hasn't actually materialized, and the 999 conspiracy as well hasn't actually materialized. So I guess, in the grand scheme of things, you could perhaps look back and say people are now more informed about the potential. Not potential, they're actually the benefits of having an injection. So the education is now out there. And I think people are welcoming it now comparatively to in the beginning when it started. Even in this country, and as you know, people were very skeptical about it. Even as we speak, there are
some people who are still,
I saw a bit very skeptical. You can't compare that to the rate of Ghana, but what I'm basically driving at is that those things are still out there. So it is significantly one of the important, wins that the health service perhaps is winning. But still, it's a very low, super low figure in terms of the vaccination in Ghana. Because if you look at the figures, the first dose we we almost going to the fourth dose now.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in the third dose as I speak.
And this is for the adult population.
Correct. And if you do that comparison between what is happening here and what is happening in Ghana, then clearly you say we're very, very much behind. The other time, I think yesterday, I was listening to the presidential advisor on health, Dr.
For the UK or Ghana.
Ghana, I come to remember his name, and he was making some assertions in regards to what basically the president will want to do, and some of the things that he did mention, I remember, said that in Bruno, the vaccines are there, So, and when he said the vaccines are there, I nearly laughed because the vaccines are there, but
no, they are not being administered.
Yes, it's no fault of the father.
But is it not interesting from this report, if you read into it, that unlike previously where people will go in queue and there will be health professionals kind of administer these vaccines. This one was a smooth running from the report.
But so what I was saying is that vaccines are there, yes, the patronage of it is still kind of quite low, but saying that if you still look at the figures of where we are as now compared to where others are, that huge gap where you would have expected the vaccines are there should actually be used by now, and people should actually be rushing where we don't. The excuse should be coming saying we don't have vaccines, rather than we have vaccines. People are so low, because the percentage is low, is very, very, very low, and but you see that you could draw quite a lot of reasons behind the low patronage. Because comparatively, if the figures that we have are absolutely correct in terms of the death rate and even infection rate, the West will be very jealous of us in terms of the infection and the death. So we are winning the fight without actually doing much, and then I guess that complacency. It's always the issue. So if there is no wahala, why do you sort of try and get yourself wind up about situations? So those things are also probably, if people were dying, and God forbid it shouldn't happen, if people were dying from COVID comparatively to what happened in the West, I'm pretty sure the patronage of it will be, nobody will tell you to go and get a vaccine. You will go. I mean, as it is, we experiencing in the West now. I mean, you have your third jab, but you've had your double already, and no one forces it to. I mean, you hear cases and you listen to, you can see what is happening. So, I mean, you'll be an idiot not to think that it can basically happen to you, because healthy people are dying and you're not better than them in any way. So sometimes the self, education based on issues or problems in regards to the administration of it, and no will compel people to go. But Ghana have been lucky in a way. I mean, there have been a lot of times that I'm afraid the waves of the third wave, and so we're still, amongst one of the low, death rates in compared to other places in the world. So maybe that is what. But I hear this Omicron, when you look at the figures last year around this time, Omicron is twice in terms of the
infection rate.
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
And I was very surprised about it, because I thought that it is more of an infection than death.
And where is this figure from?
I mean, that's what when I had that physician advisor.
Okay.
It wasn't. Let's talk about that.
I had the WHO Health General Secretary. I was just trying to find his name, but I didn't give my updates on COVID.
From this country?
The WHO.
Oh.
Was it Dr. I'm not sure whether he is Tendros. Dr. Tendros. I'm not too sure, but that's the Director General. But I'm looking for the Biobema update. Yeah, the Ethiopian one. I overheard him, and even before the time that Omicron by, and it was just he was, you could see the emotions Okasa about the West. The way I said, or see this pandemic, and yet if I said West pandemic, Dr. Tendros, Dr. Tendros, do it in Minka, yeah, Dr. Tendros. Now about if you go to a place like Africa, essential workers like nurses, 1 in 4 have many on first dose. 1 in 4. When you look at the continent of Africa on its own now, 1 in 4 have their first dose. It's this fight now. It was allegedly said this new variant from South Africa later on there's so much conspiracy saying it might be from the Netherlands. It's Netherlands again, Netherlands. Yeah. From the Netherlands. Home figures near high. At the same time, it looks as if the West, air protection. Look at this week in the United Kingdom, they put Nigeria on the red list. That means that if in Nigeria, you need to be quarantined in a private hotel like government, for 10 days. You need to do your day 2 and your day 8 tests, and this is roughly the estimate of what is about £2,000 on top of whatever needs to be done. Which obviously African countries, African heads, no matter outside, I'm only happy because as at the time there were only 3 cases. That has been reported from Nigeria. Now, cases say, not at all. Now, Omicron has come. Ghana is having their share. Now they're doing vaccine. Since Ghana is doing something about it, even though we expect more. Do you think that the West is ready? Say, supporting Africa now because now they've started kind of closing their borders. Do you think that they are ready to support?
I think this is a debatable discussion. So if you think about it, I mean, who wouldn't say, "Oh, opportunity now you have a drone now"? Would you not use it on yourself? So if you said you say, "This is what's going to protect you," would you not look after your family and yourself? Would you actually include, would you think about? It's very, very debatable anyway. Obviously, it's not going to be fair. They will use it all themselves anyway, the people that they live in within that country.
But when you think about the fact that we have ports that can travel in and out of country, and at the end of the day, we protect so if you
well, the idea is it wouldn't take any effect. Is that not the whole idea of doing it? So we protect it wouldn't have that effect. I wouldn't. So I'm. Please don't judge me on this. I would say, and I said, I mean, who opportunity? Let's say, basically, you do protect no family from area will so be and not a good for just you do the job, but obviously you use it on yourself. There's this whole talking about the Western and the developing countries or wherever it's always been there. There's so many things that stand to the developing countries and as Africa or wherever is that we all know that it's not fair. Obviously, in terms of how our borrowing, how the interest is upon it, and compared to other countries and stuff like that, those things are there. They're always going to discriminate. For me, the Mimi view is that you wouldn't do anything different. You will probably protect what you have than obviously than so push it around the country. But as you said about the Nigerian issue, there were about 3 cases compared to here, and then with that. For me, and I think it's got to a point, it's a global disease, So you have to, if you're going to treat it and as if you're going to do something about it, that's the flip side of this whole thing, a global disease. So if you are going to, there's no way that you can actually think so you can protect everyone in your country and no one will bring it in. It will happen and it will spread everywhere. So if you have the opportunity that you want to do it, you have to make sure that you cover everyone else. You don't keep this to yourself because once it's out there, it's going to be, spreading across anywhere else. And really, I mean, we have been very blessed in Ghana anyway. Whether the figures that we're getting has always been right or not, we haven't really had a huge amount of cases of people dying. That
is if the figures
is correct. But then what I think, as Sammy was talking, what popped into my head is that we have been very lucky, and I pray to God that we continue to get immunity, and we are getting, and we are not really struggling with it so much. It continues because how are these viruses always switching and changing? What I say. God forbid, it could be that one day, God forbid, it be at the strain of a man, that will be a strain that is not favorable to you know, to Africans, especially because I think in Africa in general, we have been quite lucky in terms of how many cases compared to the West. Yeah. So I'm hoping it could be one of them may not be favorable to us anyway. I pray to God that doesn't happen. But we are very lucky, and we figure something. I hope it's there. I mean, as I still talk anyway, I've been trying to call my mom, and I've been trying to say to her, please have this done. You know, she said she's those people that have, she hasn't done them at all. So she said, no, I'm being really comfortable. What if I go and do it and something happens and whatever it is? And I've been trying to convince her anyway. So I tried to call her today, and I didn't get hold of her, and I'm trying to say to her, please go and do it. You know what I mean? I just don't know what to say to her anymore, because when they get to this stage and they get the idea, say, you know, because 666 and because also anyway, they just can't, you know. But I don't know. I think it's a difficult thing, and I think it's just to continue to sort of, you know, talk about it, and hopefully they will change their mind and get it done. And some of this here, I keep on saying, because in Ghana, I can speak from Ghana point of view, obviously going by the family, family I come once all the time. The mortality rate is very high. So at times but it doesn't, you know, people don't want to talk about it because obviously stigma about it, the way they so I have this feeling, say, you know, it could have been worse. I don't think we've had a bad, but I don't also think the figures that is out and it's always accurate. And that's my view about it.
That was a make champion. Everything for Star Wars studio. I just want to say, Mr. Emmanuel Ashley, if you are saying, I'm saying, the organic winner because we call Ghana. Media tuja wakotena Ghana obo ya ntina muhuno studio hano ena waba esi media ebe mai ma kwaba na ye bisano Ghana what's going on in terms of this COVID and then the reaction towards COVID about eti ma media ma wakwaba na then na ekoso Ghana ufi Ghana by what's going on in terms of vaccine and kofu war maybe I'll call you and what's going on.
You will not make it in what it is at the moment that is information from Ghana points to the fact that yes, and says Sami Eka said the vaccines happen to be in Ghana as per the head of presidential advisor on health. No, seriously, when I went to where that was the name of my father, which is I'll call it a village, in a too big a town, but they have one of these compounds there. So I went to in fact, so we went to the hospital, the clinic, to be precise. And we were attended by some nurses. And the problem was, and then it was like, for months, we are not coming. And the sad part of the matter is, once they no, they also require refrigeration. They are not the kind of work and almost they made announcement. I spoke to the nurse and she educated me a bit. Or say 1 year, lot of adverts and then suddenly within a matter of 2 weeks, so they don't have any, they are waiting for a consignment to come again. But still they go for months.
What happened?
So to some extent, there was some education that went on. But that goes to confirm what the director of health or whatever was saying, right? Because this is from a professional on the ground. Everybody has this funny mentality of the 666, the 999, whatever, I don't know what it is. 10, probably 10, and so forth, you never know. It's realistically on the ground, no? In Ghana, I think, I don't know the quantity, whether I have it in stock, that can take off the population only. But there was one thing that one of the people who came around was also saying, so they live in the villages. So say that part, I'm putting this in the context of the the remotest part of the country. They live in the rural huts, right? Not in a common area. Therefore, they never hear of this kind of things. Until an announcement is made on the radio, because Obi on this morning.
So what next?
So
Because of mom make announcement. What kind of announcement?
They have what they call a community center.
Yeah.
Right. No more information center.
The information center.
So they use these stickers, and they make
public
announcement in the town.
Okay.
That is the point. They make this announcement, public announcement in the town. But these are put in their hearts, in their small villages. Or no one at all. Therefore, the only way they can hear is through a radio. So Marco radio advert and they don't hear anything, and that is the counter, response. This other German gave, which I think means that yes, the information some people might like to still get the injection, but still no, they don't even know say it's available on the particular place.
So that means there is an element of within the education.
Education hasn't gone to the education, all right. They are talking about holistically as though it is Ghana. I can't from Accra. But we need something. When you talk of these things in Accra, you talk about the capital cities. Let me put that way. If the villages don't have their own way of looking at things, and so they can can't say they go for some time. They are not aware they have and they cannot fly from the village to Accra. It costs them too much to go. They might not be even able to make it. Therefore, I believe that we have to narrow down to the remotest part and find a way of competing to them as well. Because the person was telling us they are not aware. Center or there's a chip whatever. Well, so these are the things that the government must learn.
I think to add to what you just said, and while I was talking to somebody when I was in Ghana for my dad's funeral, and he was doing some projects in like remote parts of Ghana and stuff like that. And the things that he was saying, you would think that Ghana, we are so like, we obviously we don't live in our hearts, but we are quite a bit more developed. We know what's going on. Some people in the remote places, they just they have the most, if you come couple, they believe they have they think it's like you think to read and then but so what you're saying is so true. But what you know from every Ghanaian home, there's always a radio. They always listen to that.
Yeah.
So that I can't believe the government wouldn't have used that as a tool to actually reach the population in those countries. Like obviously to reach everyone, because every Ghanaian home has some kind of, we listen to the radio every day.
I agree. That's a very good one. But the point is, the radio you're talking about, radio is talking from Accra and Dome FM or whatever. So they have to go to the local radio. They have local radio. The Inch town has to own about 3 or 4 radio stations. So they have to go down there and tell them maybe there is COVID vaccine, whatever, medicines in Panta, right? Or this very particular compound. So if you live in that local area, go to that very compound.
Yeah, CCC and education, no, I buy a good show boy. Yes, who call Krasian, the villages, no, a young Krasian now for Kakudu baby. Now, one auntie Ben can sleep a do, and son, I walk on the Kura, on a friend of Kura, Jomramoti, a form, a waffle, no man, on the crown, one or the BBN, and one bonnet crack to have in a hat. Moving on this week, is the WASTI a result here by SHS of Crayon Control. So now what we are so many up and a caption needed because why explain changes to gradings. I know or say the West African Examination Council has explained that one of its platform resulted the WAEC or used the checking of the results experienced technical hitches last Friday, December the 10th, between 4:45 and 6 p.m. Now, in explaining the ordinary grade 1A was interpreted as excellent, adding that with the interpretation of 1A as good, still showing, clearly indicating an error. And this is not the first time, it's a technical issue. And see, Emma, I did my who can see a bomb of Framani part is the Enya bro because about out there was so much rumor going on, say, even we are happy into the results, Now, results now you're publishing your crown, and you're not correct. Emma and Grano, now, because say you can't a SHS, now is a Kufuado baby. Now, because only the free SHS, I buy, I say a Kufuado compared free SHS, result to the records of Mahama. Also, the President Nana Akufo-Addo has compared the results of the 2021 West African Senior Secondary School examination with what was recorded in 2016 when former President John Mahama was in office. A short statement released by the Director of Communication at the Presidency, Mr. Eugene Ahin, on Saturday, December 11th, reacted to the result. Mr. Akufo-Addo said the 2021 result was a second batch of the Akufo-Addo grades, showed net 54.08% of students recording A1/C5 in English, as opposed to 51.6% in the 2016, recording A1-60 in integrated science in 2021, as opposed to 48.35 in 2016. 54.11% recorded in A1-C6 in mathematics, as compared to 33.12 in 2016 and 66.03% recorded in the A1C social studies, and it goes on and on. And so, on my comparison, now, baby, say, phrases about ye, and once and semi about baby, or four can once them. Mammy Star story and found called Mr. Emmanuel Ashley. So, said phrases by and talked about it. We looked at all the challenges that I wore, the wrap around, the now because of football dear and no one needs to be to so best put it a better at them now go number. Results about actually said the crown will say be on my idea, even though there's always more room for improvement. All results, it has a change of perception about free center about beginning now.
Let me say what we are looking at here is I will not like us to emphasize the SHS results or the white results. Here we are. The question ask yourself is what happened to this sort of error says here about because opinion 9999 or something. Then the 699 is all filled, then later the results change. How true it is, I don't know. These are the issues you have to look into carefully and rather put the exam results into appropriate context. The context is this. Nana, every year, Same will help us understand that properly. There is a marking scheme that is drawn by examiners, right, for the markers.
Yeah.
That scheme determines exactly how you should award marks, if I'm right. And the award of marks, there has been a few, I'll call it another sort of political divide that believes those schemes have been lowered. I don't want to go into that. But the point is, are we giving the children, right, or the students, the exact, kind of knowledge or skill they need for their development as human beings? That is where my concern will lie. Yes, we may say that we have improved, but a bit of the side of the coin in Africa that we are is government has so heavy a hand and can manipulate anything to their advantage. I'm sorry to say this, but African government has so heavy a hand and can manipulate a lot of things to their advantage, right? And nobody can say anything because he is in power. Where institutions are not that independent as they're supposed to be. So therefore, yes, I am happy if we are improving. But Nana, if you look at the contact hours and whatever, they have not improved yet. Right? They're still the same. I have a small a nephew who just finished SSS. In fact, I'm yet to even confirm what the results have been. But the point is this: a child who goes out to school and come back and stay sometime for 4 months, 5 months before he goes back to school. And I think he finished the SS grade in about 2.5 years, not 3 years. With all these grades, it's not full 3 years per se. I'm yet to find out if it is science. But the point I'm trying to drive at is if we are actually making education count realistically And these are the results. I am happy for that. We are improving. But what impact is it making on our national development? I mean, the skill that these people are picking up in terms of, are we just dumping down the kind of grades to make name politically? Say, Nanado boys has done well, and Nanado SHS they are improving whatever. Because the reason I'm saying this is,
but don't you think, sir, let me interject a bit. If people say Nanado boys, remember when SS was introduced, it was kind of a caption like Rollins, JJ, because Rollins obviously introduced that as well.
That's right. It is. That's what I'm saying. I am not talking about government of today. Look, I want you to say, time we call it, you said junior secondary school, right? And it was like, I'll call it a grammar school in the UK, right? It's still by government. It's still run by government, but then it had a class. It is a grammar school. Therefore, it is possible. But my point is, you should not politicize it. That's the point I'm trying to drive. You should not politicize it. Make it independent. But the point I'm making here is that at the end of it all, if the basis of our syllabus, any contact I say, has been good and effective enough, right, then I will have no question at all as to the improvement in the performance. But the contact hours of the case has not changed. I don't know if seriously I spoke to a few teachers, and they'll tell you they don't have even syllabus textbooks to teach. Syllabus number.
But has that not been the case with Ghana education system? All the time, like if you go to the remote places, has that not been the case?
No, that would be the case. But I will tell you for a fact, in the past, it has not been the case as it is now, because we came up with a whole new curriculum, right, for the country. Therefore, if you bring a new curriculum, the teacher those days, like Okano, it's been there for 20 years, 30 years, so teachers exactly know what they were teaching. But
hold on, mommy. Me personally call Samiso because when we talk of education, I know that it's very close to its heart. Mommy, Samiso. I mean, SHS wise, we criticize it. We all did. We embrace the whole idea of free SHS. But when we saw the challenges it's having, I remember vividly, right from the beginning, you said, "Oh, this is a fleeting period," and you kind of give it a soft touch. But it got to a time where you were really hard on this free SHS with the amount enough time to look into it. Now the result has come. Whatever Mr. Emmanuel Ashley one marking scheme of whatever, that is something to be discussed on another scale. Right now the result has come, but compare whatever is there to what happened during Mohammed's time. You can see that improvement. Has that changed your perception?
Well, I mean, the free SHS, which is not the issue at hand now that we're discussing, but I'll make reference to it. I mean, I've always been against the policy, mainly because of the implementation, and nothing to do with the policy itself. Because with the policy, it is a good policy, to have free education. I mean, sometimes maybe means testing the free education might be something that we probably have to look at because of funding issue. But the implementation has been poor. We've all accepted that the problem that the free SHS is having is because of the rush which government supposedly in relation to how fast they want their campaign promise, so to speak, to manifest. Until they went ahead with it, despite the fact that they were ill prepared for it. I mean, we have seen what has happened with that. Mr. Ashley has made reference to the Levish and the
is it a wraparound?
Chip system.
The shift system that the shambolic shift system, I would say, that some people.
Mr. Nuno is not here, so you're not allowed to be.
Well, I've seen one of my valid critics, basically looking at me
in a studio.
Okay. So I need to be very hard on that so that we can have our own fight.
But he's not joining the discussion.
Well, in the background, I mean.
Okay, all right.
But so that is the first aspect. But let me draw your mind back to what the president has said, and I think yes, president is on something because it's a political angle.
We can't take politics out of it.
Yes, there's a political angle
Yes.
to it because free SHS is not those babies.
Yes.
So you can't expect another to go and say my free SHS has failed. It will be he's unheard of. He's not going to say that. So another would be right to make a comparison between what his achievements are under the free SHS and what Mahama's achievements are under his own education policy. Which of course you could see clearly said steadily there is some sort of improvement. Of course, the numbers have increased in terms of the intake of secondary education, in the grand scheme of things. But I guess the comparison for me, you have to do a year-on comparison, not with the previous government, but with the same government in last year or even in 2000 in the first time when the policy was implemented. So then I'll give you some few information on what came up in terms of they were said. So this was the figures that were reported, and this is very important because it goes to the fundamental issues that we want to address in terms of access to HE being higher education, which is the university. So this is the figures and I was trying to pick this figures because I remember clearly, I think when he came out, that was one of the first things that basically hit home when they. So I'll give you some figures. I'll see. As many as 204,831 out of the 446,350 candidates who sat for the examination this year scored above C6. I'll read that again.
And then it's from Joy Online. Yeah.
Right, so from Joy Online report. You want to dispute that one? Yeah. As many as 304,881 out of the 446,350 candidates who sat for the examination this year scored above 6.6. Which is C and grade 6. Now,
and which year is that?
2021. Okay. 45.89% of them scored between D7 and 5.9 in mathematics, whilst 45.92% scored the same marks for English. So then you see these figures here that I've just mentioned. 45%, about half of the students failed in English and maths. This is basically what we're saying. Half of the students failed in English and maths.
Almost half.
Yes, it's half. It's almost half. I would say half. And why am I saying this? It's very significant because we know if you have to get access to HE, higher education, you will need to get a minimum of a C or 6 before you can go to university. So the challenge the government is going to have now is half of the people that you put into free SHS cannot go to universities. You get the point I'm making? This is compared to his own record last year, which was better compared to what this year is. So you have to look at the figures very carefully in order to look at what the real issues are, because you want the government to compare his own figures with previous figures, because you want progression. You want the students to do well.
But somebody can argue that data, when you talk of data and comparison, you can look at it from different angles. That's what he picked.
Well, of course you can, but the real fact of the situation is that we try to see the success of the free SHS policy. So if you measure the success of free SHS policy, you don't only measure how many people have access to it, but after the access to it, how many of them can progress actually to the higher education. Because now, free SHS, we know how you're going to end up. Even university for now SHS. So you need to have more people to have access to higher education and therefore the university. So there's a huge gap here which has to be filled. Unfortunately, when I read from the report as well, said the polytechnics, we normally, under normal circumstances, would have taken pushing some of these figures. A lot of them has been sort of accredited with
University
status.
diploma.
So now it's also in a way having to cut down up to where the admission criteria is, which is the C6. So anyone says D7 and E8 and F9.
But can they go? What about the private universities?
But hold on,
but I'll come on to that. So private universities, of course, they are there to make sure that they receiving. But then I don't know what the criteria is. Of course, it is. It's not everyone that can get access to that. So there are real issues here in terms of where we are at last year compared to what the figures are now. And it's not healthy. You can spin it the way you want it. I mean, of course, government will have to spin it to fit into its own narrative of the success of the free education, which I don't for them in any way. Because look, if I'm Nanado, I'm not going to sit there and say my policy I failed, because I can look at the figures and say I've increased the number of people that go to secondary school. I compare you who wasn't up to matching that. So it's a success in a way in that way. But it also creates those challenges, which of course you have to address as well.
But one can obviously say not having everybody gain admission has always been the problem.
Yeah, but this is why you get the free SHS with the assumptions that you because look, the human resource need of the country to project us into where another education is for another to create the access to the university for his policy, create access to the university, prepared that point where everyone is very, very educated. So he is driving us a very high, sophisticated, educated economy. That's what another policy is. We're free education. It's not because of Yago to take care, but because of the economy. People should be qualified at the very high. Singapore, all these tiger Asian countries, they have very, very similar things like that. Highly educated personnel, highly educated people, and there, when people are very, very educated, entrepreneurship, exactly, it kind of trickles down. So that is his aim. So what I'm saying is, what it is now, from if we are failing maths and English in terms of
which is the basis, the foundation of it.
That is what you need for them to progress. So it's actually something where are we going to push into?
Hold on, mommy. I'll come back to you. Mommy, call Obaya. So Obaya, I'm something I expressing your opinion, pulling some information, and as his own analysis as compared to what an another in terms of figures. Sami is more interested in the foundation subject, which is the English and math, and as to the progression of these candidates, as to Omobeko and even the ability for the university, polytechnics, and the tertiary institution to absorb these candidates. Right. Let's look at it from this angle. The shutdown education system, Sami made mention of even people finishing university. Yeah. We know in Ghana there are lots of graduates there's so many drain basically. Yet if we have said we did another research in which before I applied for policing, fire service, and there were so many queues, and people could queue for hours and hours and hours. And we can vividly say that some of these candidates, a bit more graduates. What difference would it make if, based on Sami's argument, so even if they are able to get the foundation subjects right? And I want you to look at it from 2 points of view, if you can, for me. What difference would it make if all these people are absorbed? I know entrepreneurship is there, but then the second question is, in terms of the syllabus, is it good enough to equip these candidates and these students, even to our university level now, you can end up in entrepreneurship?
I mean, well, first question anyway. So the first question is how they were actually going to finish getting the jobs in the system anyway. Somebody took one point I was going to say actually. No, it's how you always do it, but it's fine. I was actually thinking actually in my head anyway, because obviously you're probably good with maths and stuff like that. In terms of the figures and you're comparing and just things have done really well, you know what I mean? Because obviously compared to 2016, there wasn't free education anyway. So obviously you have more success anyway, because there's more people in school than it would have been in that at that time. So that in that way, if you compare it, you're always going to win. But a good point as well that comes out, which you all should touch on as well, you talked about, is after all this, in any way, we're talking about how well these people have done. I'm not going to touch because you talked about the maths and English. it's, as Nana said anyway, no, what happens when you've managed to go to, even finish, try to get to university? You know, obviously at that stage, anyway, it's not free. So how are people going to get into the universities? Then from that university, get jobs. So you can actually educate everyone in the world. You can do all that stuff anyway, but when they finish, they don't have anything to go to. And then what is the point? You ask yourself, because you say you mentioned the police service. We have other people actually nowadays finish investing, doing any normal job just to survive because there's nothing to do. Or no, what are we going to do about it? So for me anyway, from my point of view anyway, it might not be politically because I know. So you guys are like, I'm sure that. He has something here to say. But me, I'm speaking from a normal person on the street. And what does it mean to me anyway? Because if I finish university and I say I managed to get my parents to afford to finish this education system, and what am I going to do with my life? For me, it doesn't mean anything to anyone on the street or the youngsters anyway, unless there's something for them to go on to after they finish. There's no job.
On this specific one. And if you look at the budget statement, the one with the rejected one, rejected.
We're not sure.
They actually make one emphasis on the keyword that they use in terms of the youth, the job creation.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to move away from
banking.
From the centeredness in terms of the reliance on university graduates of government jobs for university graduates creating their own enterprise. So exactly. So what they're trying to do now, I don't know it's going to work, but it's a fantastic idea. When you invest here, don't be thinking about what you
can find a job.
You have to create your own job. But you see.
But how do you create your own job when you don't have?
If you are desperate, for example, let's say I finished engineering in university. One of the ways I'll be looking at is mainly will be the government sector to see and see some jobs. So, but why can't you, according to the government, set up your own consultancy or something small and then start soliciting for contracts?
On paper, it works well.
Yeah, but I'm just bringing that because
hold your mommy, because and if you have the part, and just to I think for just to be aware, and I'm saying some submission, or make reference to one MVP guru, one on us, one he's a diehard, and we never goes down when it gets to MPP issue. And now our baby referee come the studio name was a pair or Juma, but no studio one. It's one or Bay Airport to buy that MPP or many normal is also know what is our fruit play, that is our true Ghana. Because next time or for Ghana sometimes on the no Ghana or Ghana no our cost flat star house, or got information that they have a tool. Now Mama Natia and Sana or Babano Meko Ison Imasono, and Sana Meko Imasono, Meko Memma Meko Asana Meko Kusuno, Memma Ima. Never 5 minutes because I'm very conscious of time. By the time they journey, now what reacted to some submission now or the 5 minutes.
Some people now can argue the government regulators and say you can create consultants or whatever. But Nana, the point we have here is I think government has to look at this thing properly. I am an entrepreneur, and for that matter, I'll say I have an experience. But you can never be an entrepreneur without experience. That's one thing. You can't use theory to start any business. I'll tell you for a fact. In reality,
is it not? Because this is a very interesting kind of way because in Kromha in the West, and I know a lot of the based on the kind of syllables or whatever. It's been done, especially some of the not polytechnics, not the universities, not so either. Some of the colleges now, and I know a lot of people are maybe in school. They don't even have the desire to work for anybody. While they are in school, maybe a mobile call, apprenticeship or whatever, and by the time they finish, they want to set up their own business. Why can't you make it work in?
Let me tell you something. Apprenticeship is apprenticeship. your knowledge that you gather as apprenticeship is so limited, so restricted, right? Now, how long are you going to be there? You are going to be there for a very short time. To be an entrepreneur and run a business, right? With financing, that's somebody who finance, it comes with a whole lot of challenges. And that's why I don't know if you look at we have this apprenticeship system. Is it the one you know tell you? What's the name?
Prince.
Apprentice.
It's apprentice. This other one. This other one. I think this guy is sugar program. Exactly.
No, you mean
The Prince.
The dragons there. The point is this: you have the ideas, you have all it takes, but don't forget the investor will never put in a penny until you get somebody who can guide you. Because when you are that creative, most of those are the creative industry. Look at Facebook. They were in school when they started, right? But those areas are so limited. They are few. If you come to engineering, accountancy, law, and whatever, you need experience to go. So I mean, everybody's going to be that creative industry. Someone like an actor. Actor is an actor. He's just dancing or creating something out of the blues, and you make money. Someone like a computer, now computing areas people make mistakes and they just
even
something out of it.
Creating art.
Fine, those are the areas. But what I'm saying is, how many people can we put in those areas? We have our core areas, medicine. Can you open a medical center without you practicing for a long time?
But
can you be an accountant without having experience of you branding?
If I know that that's what the government aims to, and even in this country, there are a lot of people when they finish school, their aim is to become entrepreneur. However, they don't intend to aim at a government institution. Into a firm like that, like your firm you're talking to even gain the experience, and that is what probably the government is looking at, so that we wouldn't focus so much. It takes the burden off the government, so that some of these small business will be absorbing people, give them that knowledge and the experience that you're expecting, and through that, the ones that have done the experience, they'll be able to kind of run their own businesses like you are suggesting.
That's the good idea. And the problem you're having here is, personally, I've never worked in the public government sector before. From day one, I've been in the private sector all along.
Everything is a problem for NDC people.
So if you practicalize exactly what we have, if government, look, in those days, I remember you go to private sector and the national service, you can go to private sector and government will pay. And I think government is still doing that in the private sector, which I have no problem. But 1 year national service. Look, let's go back to NAPCO. No, the NAPCO program. The NAPCO was supposed to put people into business to learn and come back. Now sometimes NAPCO meet all they do is and he's going back home. These are the things I think we need a well-structured scheme for people to learn. Like I said, it's not on the government, but will the government be able to create all these employment in the private sector? Is the private sector even? I have but the point is, do I even have the space? How many people can the private sector say they are creating for government or probably in the office? Nonsense. These are the issues you have to weigh properly. So to me, yes, it's a best, it's a good idea, but don't forget, government still have to employ some people. When they go in there and they learn, within 5 years or something, we'll get them that confidence come out. And so to see maybe school, my chartered accountant, maybe my chartered tax, so I'm setting up. But okay, so be a school on set entrepreneur is not possible.
As I said, I am who I fell 5 jobs. What tired to the sense that if you remember or the Michael no holiday be able go or better might have froze MCC. Well, who ever feel have member who actually because we won't know the video show I tell you. Now, who made them funny easy grab and your mom say.
It's okay.
Now, how has your week been? You move here and the DNA do with PVA?
Many house master.
headmaster. I won't come to it. I'm buying price on the roof. It is a neutral man buy. And I'm buying now said there a commodity for consonants there. The COVID man can be.
It's all by microphone. Kagu, where the thank you, sir, for joining. Yet, if you just watching this, is was a radio number 1 radio station in London. And yeah, I managed with dear son, I was super so and I have my baby 4. And I had to ask for Kumi welfare and no studio 2, I'll be studio 1. Not your back on the controversial man, on this MPP near this, what GMPP flag and it's a pumping ocean. Okay, YouTube now, and WhatsApp TV, I will say, or also Kumi welfare. I said, dear friend. Kagu, yeah, can't Nanado say, and the results on the Mahama Diego, a quite new Senate, and some of my analysis be Lucana, Jigawa, Uchiaku, was say, or no, another the Okano Grad or the Okana and Tashu, because figures no and the foundation subject is now mass in English and in Korean. Who did you know any more was a forgetting? And what's the reaction is saying?
I can't make a fast idea. I want to say, well, me, no. I don't know why the comparison is between Nana and Mahama. Mama buying a system, no wonder. In Mahama, they want me to be there. And you want to make a belief or compare. Mobile is a son of Mrs. and one, only your country in our class. And you know, as I want to compare it to the old system. Well, with this, all by our being introduced to the old system, it's the moment taking Mahama out of it. Because oh, dear, me no me and my account was I don't know the because oh, first of all, mommy, I'm telling you, maybe this we know card, we know free. Nemo, let me be honest. The person Nanado was supposed by president. The idea is telling them all by it, I chose to like it. If you are this, it's just a free one way. Because let me know check around 5 school fees. I am a common free holiday, maybe I have a problem because my people want people are asking from the crew. But and so by is here, you cannot credit. My man and all say we are talking money or the better school work, which those things maybe are why and mammy, the policies, what are the policy that? There may be a policy here, there will be baby or yet. Now, air conning now it's me. It's the enemy as American say, who is implementation a mountain or starting is happy and can the able win in the summer because you won't change it. So was that I'm gonna put me. It's why it's about to start in Jamo almost some of the woman see near with a piano. A boy is using Jamo who drinks and Panikas. Now, yes, Nana Mokamasa. Many of our can say, we say, and you depart to go the day we are not being able to do.
Says a free. So to compare yourself to the previous 2016, obviously it wouldn't be fair because they say education system is strong. It's obvious free compared to 2016, it wasn't free. So the figures can never be right because here they are. Figures very higher than 2016.
So, but it's a percentage. And your figures not or the percentage.
I just have to guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, it's Sano.
Draws anyway. I was figures more by the draws because
I tell my better monos. No, my bad.
The percentage will be the same.
Percentage, yeah, it's a small percentage. And no,
it doesn't really matter.
How many people? And so we are
I can make a comparison between real figures. Compare real figures to real figures.
Yeah.
In terms of the
figures, so the amount of say 2000, say for example, 2000
intake.
Yes, 2000 compared to 2000 that time.
Yeah. So okay.
MJ is that's another discussion. I'd rather
what I wanted to clarify for Anita. You're sure what you said, but I think you mixing two things. If you have an intake in 2016, if it's 5,000 people that me for free SHS. Echo school, sorry, 5,000.
20% the past year.
And 20% their price, and 20% of the 5,000. You can do the same percentage.
Okay.
With
So 5,000.
then you compare.
Okay.
You can still look at comparing between someone who won and a percentage of
You
price.
use the same 5,000 to check.
No, you're not using the same 5,000. You're using
different out of years. You have to look at the percentage.
Yeah.
Not out of years. But
with that
20%, no, 5,000, 2016, 20% every year, just 1,000 last year.
Yeah.
This year, 20,000 because of free education. Yes, 20%. That will be 4,000.
Yeah. So the figures will be more over. The percentage. So when you make that comparison, you make to compare in terms of the percentage.
For 2 minutes. Now land the money on this topic.
Every day, makes sense. I can be glad. You want to say, you know, you're not me as American. One will say, I give you over. Maybe say them, I mean, doing too much in politics, but what would improve Ghana? I give you how much I say everyone say, or maybe anywhere, or maybe use Obi a language as their basic. How much be if you are then a Ghana, you offer English, you say, passing the Tanzania, in the better subject, be a wet man, university.
Very subject based on English.
That is
it's the official language, isn't it?
Oh, and why you are here? Because the train
used to treat I'm a firm, believer the language has to be changed before already. I don't want I think it is fundamental. Welsh, if you go to Wales, they have their Welsh language.
Yeah.
So we can find a way around it, I believe.
They're not a dead to cry. They want to buy a tree and everything. They're not an argument. Well, if you say, young free baby near me. I mean, we
are talking about entrepreneurship.
What was the American say? Yay, Mamma said, Bibi, I didn't know what they buffer for. Yes, one, a buy say. Who you sure? How I be here? Now you're more. It
sounds nice, isn't it?
That's right. And did you okay? So, who say who are here? As I said, who could you burn? It need to be knit around it. Or if I who see again, you know, as obey. Now you're more. We are casting. That's what buy a to summer. How would you say the Mawa question? The people that do what was baby said, over to Siena, I go out to see. They say, now become moving and as because almost started. Now, said you must start to but I did away back. Our mama was only a bit, but not my boom. Now, when they form a group, and your mom to be any other young woman.
That was I'm ready to movie on. Mommy, and let's talk here for him to do a CV and almost as soon as I should be about visual so a day. About before I ever call it a fear say, or never buy a babu, and you couldn't acquire the for more. But your mocha may you have video, I'll be right back.
Casting Advisory is what you need. Are you looking for business solutions that will serve your needs? Look no further, because Casting Advisory is all you need. Casting Advisory is a unique advisory firm that provides specialized solutions in tax and business planning, audit and assurance services, company secretarial services, corporate advisory, corporate training, tax policy advisory, charity registration and accounting, gift aid for churches and charitable organizations. Our understanding and industry experience provides a cutting-edge software solution tailor-made for your firm. Locate Casting Advisory in the UK, Suite 4, the Generator Business Center, 95 Miles Road, Meacham, Surrey, CR4 3FH, or call us in the UK on 020-840-81520 or 078-867-15702. or email us at info@castongroup.com. And in Ghana, locate Casting Advisory Suite 5, the first floor of the Zerka Plaza, Tetingu Junction, Southeast Ranger off the Kaswa Highway, or call 0249 700 075. Casting Advisory, the delivery of excellence redefined.
Casting Advisory.
Trinity Driving School, your #1 driving school in the UK.
Did you know that they're equipped with professional driving instructors who will teach you to pass your test with ease?
So, if you want to pass your test, please look no further.
Contact Trinity Driving School on 07507 116997.
Trinity, safe and responsible driving.
Yo, 824, you're welcome back. You're welcome back. If you just tuned in, just to remind you, this was up radio, #1 radio station in London. And yeah, I went to just before we left, we were talking about them. And yeah, what's results and out, and the comparison then we looked at the British as the coronavirus. Now another story this week are trending. Remember when Ford came into power, one of the slogan and all also one teacher, one laptop. Then our 3 years story, also one teacher, one laptop project, 80% of laptops for SHS teachers delivered with GS4 and all. The Ghana Education Service says it has distributed about 80% of the 62,000 laptops to teachers in the senior high school under the project. According to GES Phase 1 of the One Teacher, One Laptop project, which was launched on September 3rd, 2021, is expected to be completed on December 17, 2021. In the press statement signed by the head of public relations, Cassandra Ampofo, the service said the TM1 laptop has a training component. So far, 260 GS districts ICT coordinators have been trained with certified Microsoft ICT tools to provide technical support to teachers. GS added that digital online training and normal NCM assembly by Kofobi to net feels could idea and I want to be yet 80%. I'm a senior high school for teachers. Before say a Jesus for teachers for but according to report, I'm a senior high. My main facts topic. I don't know who would like to touch on this topic first. Sami why teacher need it. Now me say also 3 SHS, one teacher, one laptop. Say I don't support I don't know whether it was you or Kweku. Now, I don't know whether it was you or no headmaster now support with that initiative, and because I can say since I said by December 20 week, that means that next week, they hope say teacher phobia laptop, do you think say the pack? Do you think that Ghana is not the thoughts but the process and the decide in the this is a training program figures now 260. Do you think say teachers they are well equipped and I don't know able to be about teaching and learning in our secondary schools and
I mean, may I answer the last question first whether I did what of course. I mean, any technology that you add patient and the teacher, it obviously enhances the capacity of that teacher to be able to do especially if there is a chance of that, by some books of the internet, and it is your gateway to manage it. It's very easy to be able to get whatever it is. Currency. Student with disappointed behavior only answer about your question. Class instead. Parents go back. Well, I'm giving some of the tricks now. But then with this specific story, Busha, what the Ghana Education Service has said is that there are 3 phases.
This is a phase 1.
phase one, and the 80% of success that they said
is for secondary school.
Yes, mainly for the phase one.
Mm.
But so there are a whole chunk, teachers who have not had nothing at all. But I think it's a first story move into details now. There is a huge protest and what is the word? Disagreements. Not into the word of the word of the better word now. Use in relation to the specific policy of the one laptop. The caption suggests, as Steve said, the laptop is actually being given for free. What they say is most of the teachers' unions say it is fraudulent between the Ghana Education Service and some teachers' union, where the laptop their mom, I see a year free, so you were entitled to, and even in so doing, not everyone has actually been able to
benefit from it.
So there is this school of talk. They feel said it's actually not a
Free
laptop
as
it's been
suggested.
And that is one of the disagreements that they have with the policy. So it therefore brings in mind about some concerns also that they raise in terms of the sourcing of where the laptop came from. And there has been an issue where they've taken on the education ministry and the attorney general to court to basically supposedly say they've breached some of the procurement acts, because what they claim is the sourcing of the laptop was sole sourced from one specific company. Now this is where my concerns are with the sole sourcing, because if what they say that there is a breach of the procurement act now, it therefore suggests who are the beneficiaries of the contract
projects
that was awarded.
Mm.
Are these people that in a way will probably go and dip in and realize that there's a conflict of interest, which is very common, in
politics.
In our world. So there are a lot of questions that is basically need to be answered for this specific policy, and also whether this specific implementation has been done right to the letter and to the law. So I'm very interested to see the outcome of what this specific court issue will be. But beyond that, the policy itself, for the teacher to be hooked onto a laptop, it should be a welcome policy. And I'm actually even surprised. We are not actually wholly surprised, but I am kind of surprised that, the idea that we're trying to get education to become the forefront of our developmental goals, you cannot achieve those things if you don't resource, especially the teachers that are basically going to do the fundamental intervention in terms of teaching and learning to those students for learning to take place. You will have to source them adequately. So laptops shouldn't be something that we should be fighting over. Or let's say we can't afford laptop, but access to computers and the internet in every school should be a given. That it shouldn't be something at this day and age. Our education institutions are so struggling to be hooked onto the internet. In this dispensation of free knowledge, which is out there, where knowledge is so cheap in a way. I remember you using that word, the knowledge is actually very cheap.
Yeah, at the moment.
In the situation where, as a country, it is still a big fight to get an access to something very, very basic.
Fundamental.
Now. It is basic now in education for every person that is in teaching.
Jack Utie was up radio.
And they need to go. We move on from the paper-based writing, all of the world has moved on so many years ago, long time ago, and we still basically almost where we were. Some 20 years down the line, I did chalk and try it. We've moved a long time from that. So I want to see going forward as part of government strategy to resource teachers to make it much more easy for them to prep for lessons and to teach lessons. Because sometimes all you need for a prep to do your prep and you can use this spread by just updating it for so many years, is to basically save all your documentation or resources on a specific drive. And then getting access to it and do your teaching makes it much more easier. And updates that you can do can be done very, very effectively because you just have to jump around to make it current and make small changes and you are good to go. And it makes teaching very, very easy, very comfortable for a teacher. And at least, as I said, at the rate at which we want to move, it is a given. It's something that we shouldn't be debating at all about it.
Jack, Uti was Sat
Sammy, yeah, better was the Nami Pesemi moving on to this from this subject because I think, in my opinion, Sammy has exhausted it unless anybody on the panel would like to touch a little bit on that. Kweku, Obaya, obviously, won't touch it. You've got anything, and yeah, because I thought
so kind in a local Chiano, but the BBS was on second year. I think opportunity to pursue policy or crown pass on second is take it out.
Actually, one question I want to add is when I was reading, I don't know. So the internet, the office is also internet. One I will
with his laptop, they didn't mention internet.
I mean, what is a laptop? No one buys internet.
This is most of the
for secondary schools, yes, yeah, for secondary school.
Everyone needs that information.
It's here for say one teacher, one laptop. Phase one, we've kind of the MPP and the Ekufuado's government, they've reached 80% of their first phase. I'd like to know your thoughts. Sabatu and Namfos and Metawonka. Because I would like to know from the NDC context, so what is happening with these sort of things. This week, another trending stories are there's been a lot of demonstrations on our streets of Ghana. One, a driver for essay NCSA because Metrona and as a fan they don't want to tell me they can to a passenger force. And in some of the videos in the share in the crampono, if you are also a driver for or mobile or any other day, a lot of people have to result in and walking. In him say Dampare and then the men bring in some buses be out to the stands and no people chenko phones you any other day. Apart from a year a driver for year or video go or call there were so many demonstrations across the country of Ghana. One of them was resident demonstrated over lack of development projects in Sunyani. Some residents in Sunyani yesterday started a peaceful demonstration on the principal street to show their disapproval of lack of development projects in the Bono region in general and Sunyani municipality in particular. And Ushama, baby, one of the footage now, Mr. And from a and this is not the Sunyani one. Other area, there's so much demonstration. My question now, the best do you think, say, all this demonstration, I know, say, and we all know, say, development, there's no one place because it's well developed. Even in the West, there's always a normal improving. Do you think, say, under the MPP administration, under Ekufuado, there's so many people are happy. And if you would see Kofoya, or more lament, say, Ekufuaba Adobano, or Besha or Mobo, no mobile to Abama Ekufuado. Some of them almost soon. I call to the sense. A man now almost and drew baby. Driver phone almost see almost type papa in the young baby. No matter pa or banane aswa and your money diaba. Do you think Ekufuado is doing enough when we talk about developmental projects in the field of Ghana and a
question we pass many because what someone can see as a kind of man is saying. This is my that would tell you a page and maybe the next word of Kasi already a view could be a year kind was in water. And there's a son of Candia would to buy water. 18 only this Ghana was within the last 6 years in the planning in Ghana. Because of my penny that would come here to say, I find it. The whole Ghana plan, which one was all done. Uko kasi mania was in your old grandmother. Never no to say if it's a or year, maybe I can come here. But you miss I will say. They say for your own body, do him and I. Statistics is such I said, a bad way, I a long time. I tell you, a baby our background.
Formation on your forever.
Statistics.
I free.
What kind of was a bit that's not kind of what is that? Well, and this is you know what yeah, oh, say yes, yeah, than anyone else. Google it. Say, statistically, some of our one Google is here and see what government and I go to
why busy or someone to shamra? Kwaku to us or to
say I can't, mammy, a byway or yebi. Say I can't. And yet, dear, say, Dana make a true say Ghana for say a byway go the Siam. A minus in this car, your dear development. Yes, so cry for development. To how we achieve. And for what we see, they say, Nipper beat me, be the cop, Western way. Don't you know they are 2 times? They say, Ghana Bible also become the same amount. Say. Musukroya move development. Or mine also, yes, I did your mamma plan, intimidate my forecast. So, how do we develop? Intimidate sacrifice when you back. Maybe someone will say, Sabi, the Yankasa any panel, Sabi, you can't get an animal, a friend say, include a merge. Never be the young Mukumquai, Mulorquai. You can not to you and 1 year. Yankasa when you manner. Because the mining this car. Say a person on changing the whole nation at once. You met my mining is well, I know, mammy, obviously, you're okay, the say what Mitty can work. You don't know, Princess Anna, pay cap and ratio, Chroma, if you are not a baby, you walk out. Your chromosomes are. Après ratio, say, you cannot work a credit the team.
Yo, Kwaku made us, Mammy, Nabotre, for a London, Mammy.
Because I was in a land. Oh, and the American say, Ghana for Israel for Obisha and some way, you come with a comedy, yes, I can say. The Kwan one can be 40 years. And now 400 years from Egypt to Israel. Mammy, tell my campaign. As a way come. Now, one can say, what you are saying after campaign, there is a life for the air. And then one can say, never will be better than you, a dear of Kaya, or buy one. The policy be of course, you can be a factory.
Kwaku, 50 seconds.
Recycling, jump recycling. Big one. I know, saying to and in factories in India, at least once a year.
Well, as I say, Mammy, or a year, Emmanuel Ashley. So, Emma, Mr. Koku Akasa. This week, apart from Sunyane for year, almost like I said, I've drawn off one so the farm will bo iodine, palm or muddy, or more cars, is see her. What is causing this stir? There's a stir going on in Ghana. Youth needs to be and there's so much demonstration this week in Kumaya. What is causing this stir?
I'll bet to say it's not this week only. And so we have a bit of a challenge in our hand as a country. And now what we have in the country is there is total unemployment to a greater extent. Total, yeah, as in, I mean, statistical terms. But also, young people will be school. Young people, yes, or one could be so idea what could students as I'm more, let's say they are all your baby money. Our poor money at the end. There are a lot of them. That's one side of the coin. Now, what we have is Pan Wasema, right? Came out of lack of good management of our oil refinery. Nana, since you are going to if you have a proper arrangement for our oil refinery, they need to oil in an house, a share of the oil. We can't be refine it in Ghana. and then sell it in Ghana at a reasonable cost.
Mm.
This is what somebody like Libya was doing at the time of a friend is saying
Gaddafi.
Now, what we have to look at as a country is that fango, no, there are so many taxes on fango. And the funny part of the story is, I'll tell you, I was in Ghana for only 3 weeks. You increase petrol prices about 3 times in 3 weeks. No announcement, nothing. Who better petrol station will be price now? And the question ask yourself, what can you do? You are driving up with work. Not possible. So therefore, we have to look at the various taxes echo into the fuel. No? Now, one thing that happened is that as the fuel price was increasing, DPLTU and all those associations were not allowing the drivers to increase their prices because that would make the government also unpopular in a way. So I don't know how the government got a hand, right, being the DPLTU being to a extent that they were able to.
But what's the basis of your arguments? Or more, the government had a hand with the GZ,
I'm just
speculating. Okay.
Possibly because they were not allowed to increase their price. There were times that drivers have tried to increase their price and they have been stopped by their unions. So the point I'm making is speculation is a possibility of them maybe protecting the government, because at the end of the day, when you talk of market economy, demand and supply. If I haven't got whatever, I should be able to increase my price at any time. But then the moment you form a union, you are locked into the union arrangement. You can't just act your own way. You are very seller. On the can increase the carry price, you won't do. I'm not for one part, I am massive. But this is a union. Therefore, the problem we have in Ghana is Ghana. I witnessed this football. In fact, they were beating some of their own drivers. Who drivers are? Only say they will help to make sure that people are able to travel. Yet, in Accra, right? They are colleague drivers because it's like you are paying that for another union. You have no choice. When you are in the union, you have to go by the union dictate. So the problem we have as of now is we have to look at the various taxes that are put into the fuel. Can we be able to manage the oil refining?
Jack, what's up, radio?
Fuel, right? I mean, oil. This one not fuel, but oil within the country. At a price the other person can pay. But the greatest thing is the truck drivers have a challenge because they have to make account to the owners of the car. Most of them, they don't own the cars, right? It's not a higher car price amount. Every week or every day. That's what it is. So they are so stressed that they can't get any means to survive.
But just point of correction. This is a control abuse. You can't Trotsky. Trotsky. Yo, my main call Obaya. So, you said this week here, I'm just going to throw this question on Eddie Amount. There's been a lot of stuff. There's kind of revolution. Cost to Ghana to the extent that Dampare any kobo for no what you want and 1 and 2 because the youth yeah to crossing be or honum to the extent of almost electricity for issue. Say almost and see I said Ghana no see it looks as if everywhere in the country there's something going on. And I know say always there's no way I buy me the bow but this week yes sorry and it's just too much. And under the MPP administration, it's been too much as well. What do you think is causing this stir?
I think, to be honest with you, I knew at one point this will happen. And I've said it a few times on the show here. It's like I think the time is to be heard. You have to start the argument have to start, because if you don't say anything now, because I know people are frustrated. There's no work. There's no work for people to do. People are just going my there's petrol, all this stuff anyway going on. The petrol is not enough, so people are kind of more or less nowadays in the crime rate. It's just like to survive. They have to find a different way of surviving. And I'm a firm believer at times anyway. It sounds so wrong when you say this, and it's like at times you have to start the whole conversation. Like you have to start something for something to happen. like Nigeria, they did their own illustration about the star. And I mean, obviously, it kind of stopped the situation. The few times they've tried to stop this, and they will reform and name different and come back again. And I thought you have to start a conversation. I'm not surprised anyway. I think yes, young crowd is a struggle. Adults, they do not for more way banking sector, be a struggle. So I mean, I think I welcome like those conversations as far as it's done in like no, I mean, not take a cool view or whatever. It's done in a decent way, and obviously voicing your views that things needs to change. I think this is the time anyway. You have to provoke those conversations for people to have that conversation anyway. So I am glad that people are just saying to like look. Like and whatever they were saying, like roads, then you promise development is not at the rate they're looking for. Petrol for come on, we are come as a petrol and as a for anyway. So I'm glad that this conversation is happening around Ghana.
Yo, Mami Sami, so and Sami, I just want to be specific with you. Yeah, we're looking at the commercial drivers. Right now, we're talking about Ghana developing in 10. If you look into the West, petrol is kind of diesel is pacing up. Now everybody is going into electric cars and all that. Do you think that as a country, you focus as our competing with the West, you focus so much. I don't know how many, even if we have electric cars in Ghana, but say if you see a rubber shoulders with the West in terms of where, do you think we should change the dynamism or the narration in terms of fuel? Last this year, fuel, so does it have a future? And as you did the and then you're now as a be so see a echo way, yes, science is now.
To be honest, I really don't know because in terms of policy wise, the government there hasn't been any mention of this even with the opposition as to whether maybe in 20 years time the policy direction of any of our political parties to move on from the oil sector to the electrical market. I don't think it's something that this conversation will have now because environment maybe we're not really concerned much about it. In the West it's an environmental issue, so they more considering those options when they're moving away from petrol, diesel, then it will be a factor. The manufacturing of cars, the limitation as to how many cars can come into Ghana which are manufactured with petrol. But there might be a market for it where the Chinese might decide, okay, or maybe the Chinese car manufacturing can decide Africa is so dependent on oil, gas, and therefore the car manufacturing in Africa might be petrol car. I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's certainly something that any sensible economy or government should be.
Just WhatsApp Radio.
Planning for it because if the West moves away from fuel into electric, it therefore means that the importation of cars is going to suffer greatly. Get to the point where you will have you will have to produce new cars in your country.
Or either you want us to
so that will happen. But as to how quickly this will happen, perhaps not as quickly as maybe I think so. Because cars are still in the system, petrol cars and stuff for that matter. What I'm more concerned about is it will get to the point where, just as it's happened with the second-hand goods market, where fridges were dumped in Africa, we're gonna have a very serious problem 10 years down the line from now, where diesel cars will be dumped into Africa because we haven't moved away at all. Very soon, diesel car will be useless. Most of the people that are having it will be looking at a way
to get rid of.
Unless the government decides that they want to scrap it, but it's very clear to me this is what's going to happen. It's actually happening now.
It is.
Car diesel is cheaper now, so more people are buying that and shipping it back into the continent. So maybe government is already aware of that. Maybe they have a plan or a strategy for that going forward, and maybe there might be something that they will have to do. I don't know, but you see the petrol situation in Ghana. I know I'm glad you mentioned about the fact that it is actually a common place among everywhere in the world, and every economy is basically suffering as a result of the pandemic, which has an effect on supplies. So it is a whole world problem, per se. But the specifics of it, Ghana, is very clear. You can't compare living wage in the UK with living wage in Africa. So when these sort of increments hit home, it hits home really, really hard, because we already know how the effect of how petrol, hits everything basically in the economy. So I mean, look, we will get to the point. I don't think we will actually. Probably that's total lie. We won't get to the point where I will see there'll be a stabilization of the petrol pricing. But as I actually mentioned it, the biggest problem or challenge with that sector is taxation. And government need to have a think about how. I was listening to the CEO of the of BOSS, and one thing that struck me when he mentioned about there is a tax to pay debt in that industry. So I say Kabi Dahua, it's a legacy car. Now, the tax are to petrol, so that everyone will basically be paying for the debt. So things like that. And I'm not blaming the government for it. Perhaps it might probably even come all the way, because that legacy debt is not Asanato's doing. It comes all the way from perhaps maybe around the NDC. But those sort of things, I mean, are they really necessary for us to be, doing that and get people to suffer, on that? They have to revisit the taxation on fuel, on petrol.
It's here for a time check. This is a time in the but there's one story if we say ever out, and I would like to give a beer just 1 minute to touch on. It was the 2-4 launch commemorative gold coin today on the I say the coin is made up of 24 karat fine gold. The coin is to celebrate Asante Guinea's contribution to peace. A year or 2-4 was stated to the second will be launching the 24 karat commemorative gold coin today, Saturday the 12th December 2021. And celebrate 22 years of contributing to peace, stability, and development of Ghana. The launch is under the authorization of the Central Bank, the Bank of Ghana for Gold Coast Refinery Limited, to mint the commemorative gold coin to celebrate the Asante. This is the first time in the history of the country that a non-circulating commemorative coin meant to celebrate and honor people, places, events, and institutions are being issued. Now, okay, story now. See this way, people mention it is Wikipedia. You have to go to Menchia to get it. And I said, then almost very ANC. I say something like people will be bidding, auctioning, and I'll say Otumfo has got Sikabia, Sikana Obenye free, he's going to use that money, to or say or the Bay Cultural Center to promote the culture of Ogwe. Now Oshe Sikana, the way a little bit description, or see the face of the gold coin bears the image of Asante with the Edinkra symbol, or see the Inkabi and the Patapo. And then Patapo, we named the meaning of Ekweku, which symbolize peace and harmony and reconciliation. The reverse bears an image of a golden, that's the Sikaja, and a statement from the organizers. And see, where you are, and Ghana is making history, especially with something with 22 years, a war, Mamedi Akonya, and then in contribution to the peace, making peace in Ghana. It's ready, and you bet that you'll buy 1 minute because the time now is past. When you heard the story and and the idea behind it and what he's going to use the money for, what's your reaction?
because gold woman, who knows what, but somebody didn't pay me now. So that by the time I call it a days, we are from my saying gold beam. But it's a good thing. I think for the course of it anyway, to me it makes sense. We have the Queen here. We've had a lot of coins in this country anyway for different sort of celebrations and stuff like that. So why not? Anyway, I think it's about time. I think we are celebrating our culture in a sense that we are not ashamed. Me, for example, anyway, I think you and I have done a show. I've probably expressed to you, so like I really want to get to learn a bit more about the goodies too, that you know what I mean, where our parents and obviously where we came from, a bit more the history behind it. So for me, okay, do that later on after this anyway. But I think having something to remember, so like I'm African, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Ashanti, and I'm proud of it. And I think it's worth. I think we should all celebrate, and we should also get into this project anyway, because knowing what the course is, if that's what it is for, then why not anyway? I think we should all sort of give it a good thought and then just go with it.
Tell me your last words. 22 karat gold.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean the idea seems well thought of. I was actually concerned about, because the proliferation of the market with the gold, because it has to be regulated, because what you don't want is to have a situation where Obia will go, he's kind of distorts the market, but it's being controlled. And I'm glad when they mentioned Usha is championed by the central bank, so the Bank of Ghana, if I'm not wrong. I saw something on that they mentioned, the Bank of Ghana. So there is some kind of Bank of Ghana. So there is some kind of the
regulation,
financial, absolutely involved in that, and that is very, very important, because gold, as we know, is money in a way, and you don't want to get a market to be. It's kind of I'm trying to use the economic word here. That in a way, fluctuation of energy, because it would distort the way the supply and the demand issues are. But you see, that it's very important. I think for me, it is of something that, because when these celebrations are done in this country, it becomes some sort of a vintage product, where people will want to keep it. And for future, then of course you can say the resale value it goes up. So I'm thinking the philosophy behind this will perhaps also, because when you're auctioning it and people buy it, the face value at that specific time, of course you mainly want to fund what you want to do in terms of the cultural resource that you want to do. So the auction might be you buy it over the tops of what the price, in perhaps in terms of the gold. It's 24 karat gold, isn't it?
It's already
I don't know what weight. It's a lot. That's it. Yeah, that's the purest of the pure you can get, isn't it?
Can we all afford it?
But that's what I'm saying. Because it will be auctioned. So my suspicion is that if they auction it now, it depends on how much you want to give, because the idea is about funding of a specific project that Otumfuo want to do. So whatever it is that you give, but what will be the real value of that gold price when Otumfuo is no more, God forbid, when it's no more 20 years down the line, it becomes then a vintage thing that you can resell onto the market. But this one has more value than just a gold itself, because it is associated with a specific kingdom. So it's been run well. I like the idea behind what he's trying to do, because it's more about funding that he wanted to use the fund for a specific project, and that's a welcome thing for him to do.
Yo, ready? Mr. Emmanuel Ashley, your last words.
Yeah, and I would say I'll take a point of view. Said that gold itself is the purest of money that you can think about. Therefore, our ability to make sure that it doesn't actually fluctuate the market. Because don't forget, gold or Ghana, Tombi, and say gold for recent times, number one. And whatever, they all have the gold and they will sell it. The moment this pure gold, this first pure gold from the government or from the king goes through the central bank. The question is, who are we selling it to? Are you selling it to foreigners or the highest bidder? The highest bidder can be a foreigner and can be a Ghanaian. If you are selling to foreigners and we are going for the highest bidder, now say foreigner, right? You can just imagine what you can do with it compared to say there is only Ghanaian. But the point is, after the bidding, right? The point is, my expectation is after the bidding, there will be a normal market. There should be a price for it. So PBR is maybe 10,000, 1,000, whatever it is. Bidding is just for the initial stages. But after that, it should be there. Say, I pay 10,000, you have 10,000 better.
And there is only a specific amount that we are selling. You can get more after 100,000. So
these are the issues. So, but you have the purest of the gold, so.
No.
If it's the bidding is the bidding. It's the initial stages. Like we are launching so you bid. But after that, it becomes a particular price. But the question is, how many should one person get?
Yeah.
Don't forget, somebody can hide behind a Ghanaian. In fact, Chinese will be hiding behind 100 Ghanaians. As Ghanaians, these are things I think the central bank should be able to, look at the monetary problem. Otherwise, we are going to have to distort the gold market in the country.
And that's why I'm happy still. Because when I read it, so that's the first thing I picked up. Said it is being run properly through the central bank.
We pray. That's the point. Don't forget, in fact, on this platform said, institutions are not very dependent, and sometimes that stage our person would do. You might be somebody there who, for the sake of the money, in the central bank, right? Because it's not going to be run by the central governor. It will be run by some department of the city. So you be somebody there who is also interested in personal money or personal income. Therefore, might go along certain ways of the ABCA. So this is what I think. If the central bank can actually arrange it properly, the kingdom, I'll tell you, it will go a long way to the family can get vintage in about maybe 20 years, maybe about 100 years down the line. It is so precious.
Your last word, Pacho.
Well,
microphone,
before Akasa, month for Canadian. Nakaka mechanism, if I said this at the end of the money, good crowd is they've done it private, away from the government. Yet solely from the Ashanti Kingdom. I know your money. I know my plan, my dear, who will be able to find the one is an enemy. And if visit and no the money in a Sadia Mokan, or Quaya, the first will be Libya. And only those questions because I can't was a bid in Libya, a family prize, a bid in Libya as a son. Because I'm going to turn up to some number. Money. Somebody limited. I said, I can only come out only 20 beds to be our time because I'm back and I don't know money about. How can you tell me? Because we are 200,000 movies over 10 because we made one. Yeah. Not going to bring 10,000. This will be so difficult. You can't say, we are doing so what we will do women. They just have some situations that they are regulated. Yeah, they manage it properly because I just said they own. But I'm sure look, they must have thought there are people in the council that they are very clever people. So they would definitely.
Yo, except for the near Dioko Soyani Pittsburgh. I am near the Jumediano, Benyan Abbey. No one child, really, Amano Abu, so crack. But just to let you know, say after this program, a year inspirational hour at Betuasto, a year Reverend Cook or the Enyoma. A toy, Musa do Quesia de Druce and I say, Commande now. You need to prepare yourself for the week. It's maybe if we didn't ankle happy. This weekend, some may to be looked at Otum for an Equina or commemorating as a 24 karat gold. All year for a good cause into Bitumi has supported that project. We look at a lot of demonstration going on across the country, Ghana. We also discuss about the COVID job. Also, even if you go to the west, a rocket say from on the roof as it's here and go for a patronizing. Now you share what's the a year results. Yeah, I pay a Kofuado editing host ne wasi no a buy no Ghana for crown or my idea as compared to any predecessor a year Mahama. Ain't this a one time in Kebi Mamidia, Nena Hima, the one time in Kanati, and you never bonata say Macrawan, no, just a net or better make a beam. Bye bye.